2 parts per million every year. But how do you know that's man-made CO2? Because the isotope carbon-13 is less common in fossil fuels than it is naturally in the atmosphere. And over time, we're seeing the concentrations of carbon-13 are decreasing. But volcanoes emit way more CO2 than humans. No, they don't. They emit about 0.25 gigatons annually. That's less than 1% as much as humans. Okay, well, even if we are responsible for the rise in CO2, it doesn't matter because water is by far the most potent greenhouse gas. Yes, it is. I win. No, you don't. Water in the atmosphere is increasing as well. But that can't be due to human activity. The only way for the atmosphere to hold more water vapor is if it gets warmer. So, hang on, you're not saying... Yes, it all comes back to CO2. A doubling of CO2 on its own would increase the temperature of the globe by about 1 degree Celsius. But that warming means there'll be more water vapor in the atmosphere, and ice will melt, reducing the reflectivity of Earth's surface. So it's a positive feedback loop, which a bunch of different sources of evidence all indicate will lead to about a 3 degrees Celsius rise in temperature. But if this is true, why have all the predictions failed? In actuality, most of the predictions show remarkable agreement with observations. But you're probably thinking of the model from 1988, back when we thought climate sensitivity was higher. If you rerun that model with 3 degrees of warming for every doubling of CO2, the predictions match exactly the warming that we've observed. But the Earth has warmed and cooled in the past. So who was releasing CO2 back then? Aliens? We understand that past changes in the climate were triggered at regular intervals by Milankovitch cycles. That is, the periodic oscillation of the Earth's tilt, precession of the tilt, and stretching and squishing of Earth's elliptical orbit. During every warming cycle, CO2 and temperature rise together. But if you look closely at that graph, you'll see that CO2 lags behind the temperature rise, so it can't be causing the warming. The CO2 doesn't cause the first warming. The Milankovitch cycles change the way the sunlight hits the Earth, and that causes a little bit of warming, decreasing the solubility of CO2 in the oceans. So some of that CO2 is released, and that is a positive feedback loop which amplifies the warming. In fact, over 90% of the temperature increase happens after the CO2 starts to rise. Let's say you're right, and the CO2 we're releasing is warming the planet. What's so bad about that? The planet gets a little warmer, big deal. I'm not claiming it's gonna be some sort of crazy catastrophe, but we are gonna get more intense storms, more droughts and floods. The oceans will become more acidic, sea levels will rise, and my point is it would be better for all species on this planet and probably cheaper for us if we just started reducing emissions now than if we wait and pay the consequences later. No thanks. Why are you wearing sunglasses? Global warming? This episode of Veritasium was supported by Audible.com, a leading provider of audiobooks with over 150,000 titles in all areas of literature, including fiction, nonfiction, and periodicals. This week I wanted to recommend the book Merchants of Doubt, which is about scientists who have spread misinformation about certain topics like how cigarettes cause lung cancer, or how CFCs cause the ozone hole, or now how CO2 is causing the planet to warm. So if you want to find out more about that, you can download this book by going to audible.com/veritasium, or you can pick any other book of your choosing for a 1-month free trial. So I want to thank Audible for supporting me, and I want to thank you for watching.